Dr. Hathaway. I saw your show the other night on radioactive isotopes, and I've got a question for you.
Yes?
Is that your real hair?
Yeah.
But tell me, is Mitch by any chance adopted?
Why, no.
It's amazing.
Isn't it?
Real Genius is a 1985 American comic science fiction film directed by Martha Coolidge, starring Val Kilmer, Gabe Jarrett, Michelle Mayrank, and William Atherton. Welcome back to the Cult of Films. I'm John, the host, and I feel particularly smart tonight, even though I just mispronounced particularly. So to bail me out, I have Jason Alt and once again, Mr. Brian David Marshall. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on this show tonight.
Thank you for continuing to talk about movies I saw in a movie theater before you guys were born or slightly after you guys were born.
I'll have you know I was a year old when Real Genius.
So, I mean, let's just jump off right there. So you're seeing this movie in the theaters because this was also, I mean, not, I don't know. Was there a huge amount of buzz for this one?
No, it was like a kind of a teen movie, right? Like they were somewhat replaceable, somewhat interchangeable. These things came out, and you saw them, right? It's like, it's Friday. Let's go see every movie in the theater, right? Sure. You know, start go at 3:00 and just go. But I hadn't seen it. I was working for a comic book company at the time, Deluxe Comics in Brooklyn, New York, run by a guy named Dave Singer, a real character, R.I.P. He wanted to be in show business so badly, right? He had a script about the making of the movie Rebecca. You know, like he had, you know, he would write treatments for Joan Rivers that he would try to send her. You know, he's like, oh, I think you'll be a star, and you know, whatever, right? Like he was a character, and he would always talk about, you know, this person's going to be a huge movie star. You got to see this person. You got to see this, you know. And he was right about a lot of things. He was the person who told me I should see Silverado. Kevin Kline. He's like, whoever this Kevin Kline person is, oh my God, he's great. And I was like, yep. That was fantastic. I love that character. I love this movie. But he says to me, my friend Tony says, you got to go see Real Genius. This guy is going to be a huge fucking star. I'm like, all right, we'll go see it. So we go see it. It is way better than any expectations we could possibly have for this movie going in.
Library life. 205.
We love it. And of course, Val Kilmer, this guy is like who the hell is this guy? He just, you know, is a lightning bolt, right? He's just carrot. But Top Secret was made earlier. I don't think Top Secret came out until after Real Genius in theaters. Yeah, we're like, this Val Kilmer is like a bolt of lightning. This guy's amazing. Holy crap. What else has he been in? You know, nothing at that point. I think Top Secret was made first, but released after this.
Top Secret is how he got this role.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think Top Secret came out until after this movie, even though it may have been made sooner. If I remember right, because we didn't know who he was yet, but we were like, yeah. We went back to the office. Maybe my memory is who the hell knows? I could be remembering things completely wrong, but I do remember we go back and we're like, Dave, you're right. Val Kilmer, like wrote his name down. This guy, and he's like, Val Kilmer. I'm talking about the guy who played Mitch.
And hey, Gabriel Jarrett went on to star in such movies as Apollo 13 and Poseidon, and he was Nixon's speechwriter in Frost Nixon. So like,
maybe he's done a Law and Order or two in his day. I don't know.
21 Jump Street.
Okay, close enough.
Not Law and Order.
Same.
The Love Boat of Law and Orders. 21 Jump Street.
He grew into that face. If you see him now,
I have seen the picture of him. But yeah, hysterical. Like I've never in the history of people being wrong. Right. This is the Babe Ruth of it. You know,
that is the internet.
He
will
like
make
points
no
his
more
bat.
impact than the fax machine of being wrong.
He's felt like I'm going to be so wrong. Right to right field for you,
baby.
Little sick kid. Love that movie.
This movie kicks so much ass. And it's so much better than everything else that was kind of like it and kind of came out at the same time. Maybe save like Better Off Dead, because I mean that's just like a perfect movie in my opinion.
But Better Off Dead is, I think, on the same
Wavelength
tier as
like,
this.
When I was in college, I lived on the floor of all the people who took this test called the Alumni Distinguished Scholarship Test and got full
this
rides.
Is you, isn't
on
it?
the basis of, oh my God, I was the dumbest guy on this floor.
Oh.
But like, it when I watched this movie, I'm like, this is my college experience, because like the whole, like, we didn't freeze the floor with liquid nitrogen, but we were like doing mattress jousting and just like all kind of crazy shit. And everybody else is just like, I don't care about my dorm room. I'm just here because this is where my bed is, you know. But we were just all about just being like the weird. Everybody I went to school with, like 3 of the guys I was on the floor with actually work with lasers now. So like, I'm not saying it because, like, look at me. I make content for a children's card game for a living. I'm not using my chemistry degree, but like all of my friends,
13-year-old children
became doctors, veterinarians, like, you know, physicists, chemists, like,
and they were all
so like
seeing
this
jealous,
movie. I was
Jason.
like, fuck, these
They're
are
so
my
jealous of you.
Oh yeah, maybe.
You get to do what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But I saw this movie in college, like with those people, because they were like, this is our movie, and I'll be damned if we didn't have a few Laszlos of our own on that floor. So like, this to me is more than just like a movie from the 80s about college. This was sort of like my people, like everybody was Chris Knight on my floor, and I was doing my homework, and they're like, why are you doing your homework? And I said, because I have to. They didn't.
Given the type of people you are and the environment you're in, you have to admit the strong probability that this may be the only chance you will ever have in your entire lives to have sex. Think about it.
They went to medical school without doing their homework. But I struggled, so it was really funny to just kind of see that, like, nope, if you went to Caltech, every floor of every dorm would be like that.
Oh yeah.
I think I identified at different points in my life with both characters. You know, definitely the skipped ahead of grade, you know, in a 2-year program for a 3-year middle school thing, you know, etc. Gotta be really serious, and then going like, oh, wait a minute. I'm things are happening and I'm missing them. You know, I should enjoy some of these things, and then taking a much different vibe to it.
I'm an errand runner and chronic masturbator, so I'm definitely the Kent of the 3 of us. No.
It's true. I did incept Jon to stop touching himself. So.
Right.
But by the way, talking about Kent, so on some other podcasts that we're not allowed to reference, I guess, like another episode that we didn't record in the last 2 minutes of this podcast, we talked about, you mentioned Bachelor Party, which is written by the same guy Neil Story, who wrote this, who's married to Amy Heckerling. And in Bachelor Party, Neil Israel, the actor who plays Kent in Real Genius is also, he plays the guy who's in love with Tawny Katane in Bachelor Party, who's the, you know, and so, you know, kind of playing to a type. And I would have lost, I came very close to this. I was going to make a bet with my best friend. I was like, I will bet you every Magic card I own, because I insisted that the guy in One Crazy Summer who says, don't touch my car. Don't touch my car.
You touched my car! Right, well, let me just get it clean then. You touched it again! Don't ever touch my car!
Right, that guy, I was positive.
It was
that
Robert
guy
Prescott?
I thought he was Kent. Yeah. I thought he was Kent. I was positive it was just the same guy. And it's just some guy who is not Kent and is not even recognizable when you look one Crazy Summer up on IMDb. He just doesn't, you know, look like that at all anymore. So I can't even figure out who it is.
Everyone looked like Billy Zabka back then. There
was a type.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect description. But yeah, I would have. And my friend's like, seriously? don't bet me.
Please don't give me all your cards.
He's like,
How
"You will
different
lose."
would your life be?
So why don't you tell us what Real Genius is about? The fictitious version. Of
Sure. Real Genius is about a very gifted young student.
Fellas. Hey,
Yes?
just put down the sandwiches and go.
Me?
No, Yoda. Yeah, you.
Just the
Well, I don't have any.
Brains?
Well, no, sandwiches.
Well, then what good are you?
What are we supposed to eat?
Listen, are you or are you not from the restaurant?
No, I'm Mitch Taylor. I'm a student.
Who goes to a polytechnical institute who that is military contractors and heavy DARPA vibes, and
Unbeknownst to our students.
Unbeknownst to the students, is under the guidance of William Atherton, who, by the way, is in the middle of like an epic triple douchebag run of movies.
Oh my
Just
God.
an asshole tornado.
But like,
Yes. Can we respect his, like, give him a moment here to just talk about
So
William
good.
Atherton?
I don't believe you're seriously considering listening to these men.
but like he didn't care.
This man has no.
He's like he goes out in public and they're like, that guy has no dick.
Well,
Like
that's what I
he
heard.
was he just gave it his fucking all. It was perfect.
Yeah.
I assume
yeah.
that the one that the you talk about Ghostbusters, Real Genius, and then Alan Deveneaux in No Mercy, and yeah,
I was gonna go with Die Hard, but you're probably more on point. here.
I didn't see Die Hard. I saw No Mercy twice though.
Is No Mercy?
That was
Kim
80s. That was
Basinger?
before Die Hard. Yeah,
Is that with Kim Basinger? No Mercy.
yeah.
I've
think
seen
so.
No Mercy, so
Have you?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't remember it.
I haven't seen it. I was just being a dick. It was just,
And I've
the
never seen-
next movie he made.
Yeah, no,
never
it's
seen
not
Die
a.
Hard,
Oh,
so.
it's not a perfect. It is not a perfect.
You meant
it's not a
Real
perfect-
Genius. You meant Ghostbusters, Real Genius, and Biodome. I know. I'm not an idiot.
Oh my God! Isn't he the best part of Biodome though? Like
Yeah, that was
even
Kim
with Brandon
Basinger and
Fraser.
Richard Gere in No Mercy. Yeah.
Oh, he's so good in Biodome. Well, I mean, he's just this in Biodome.
Yeah.
But he just did that so well. Yeah, this was like I said, all modeled off of actual like Cal Poly, or Caltech. I'm sorry, and and all the extras at the party scenes, that was actual Caltech students.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Gabriel Jarrett went super deep. He was like staying on the campus and stuff. He was really embodying the Mitchness of his role, because Val Kilmer just didn't give a shit. I think he went up to Brian Grazer, who is the producer, and Brian Grazer's gone on to produce literally everything.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh God, what did he say?
You look like a 12-year-old kid to me. I'm used to
I only-
being directed by men.
Yep.
And like that got on the part. Just being a dick. And they're like, yeah,
being a
because
dick.
it was originally written as a more straight-laced character, but him just like, oh, he's rude? Well, what if he's aloof too? And for whatever reason, that just worked so much better than what they had written.
Look, I want to start seeing a lot more of you in the lab.
Fine. I'll gain weight.
You're a very funny boy, Chris.
Thanks, Jerry. We try.
So
But
like
not
Val Kilmer
arrogant
made
either.
this movie.
He's not
Yeah.
arrogant. He's not talking down to anyone.
Yeah.
He's talking up to everyone.
He's telling
he's-
everybody they need to take themselves less seriously or they'll
Yeah.
get burnt out.
He's not
got
arrogant. He's
senioritis.
irreverent. He's irreverent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you love about the movie. He's just coming at everything perpendicular to everybody else.
And
He's
I love
"Nope,
that the 80s
this-
are like, you get a bachelor's degree in your set. It's like, oh my God, if you're a fucking chemist, you think you're done after 4 years, you idiot?
I think there's also a lot of subtext in this movie, like so Mitch goes to the school, settles into his dorm room, and then he starts seeing someone like coming out of his closet.
Laszlo.
And I don't mean like that kind of context, but subtext, but coming out of his closet and sort of sneaking across his room and going get stuff, and it's this character Laszlo. Who is this fabled genius who's just kind of dropped out of society and is just living beneath the school, right? Which is one of these things that you just love about the
he
movie,
saw
right?
a peek behind the curtain. He saw the actual Wizard of Oz of what this school actually is.
Yep.
And it's fucking Raytheon, you know.
Yeah, and so
and it's like if you don't, because that the Laszlo character was like the warning. There's two extremes. There's Chris Knight, and then there's Laszlo. There's the, hey man, just fucking put hot air balloons on a chair and float around campus, like in a deleted scene that was in the trailer but not the movie for some reason.
Wow.
Just don't take yourself too seriously. And then there's the like, I used an algorithm to enter a contest 5,000 times. I won a recreational vehicle. There were these three dudes at, I think it was Caltech in the 70s, that like won a McDonald's contest, and they won a station wagon and like $3,000 cash and like a bunch of free McDonald's, just by figuring out that if they, because it was, you didn't have to you didn't have to buy anything to win. You could just send them a thing. Every contest like that, no purchase necessary, so it's legal. So if you just send them postcards, they sent in 5,000 postcards and they won like all this stuff. And like, I guess, you know, to us, $3,000 cash split three ways doesn't sound great, but I guess that was pretty good for filling out a bunch of postcards in the 80s. So,
Sure.
Yeah,
I love that that was a real thing. I just got real like Punch Drunk Love.
I was gonna say, what was the
Healthy
Pudding Cups
Choice
movie? That was
coupon vibes where someone's like, they heard about that, they're like, that has to be in a movie.
It was the Pudding Cups.
Yeah.
Yep.
What
And
did
can
I
we
say?
just say John Grease? What a fucking legend of a
Uncle
career.
Rico?
Uncle Rico. He's still doing it in the show that you turned me on to, Jay. White Lotus.
Yeah.
Fucking, he's still putting out bangers. Like, John Grease is just fantastic.
Oh, he's so good on White Lotus. Him and Jennifer Coolidge on White Lotus. Fantastic.
And he still looks.
I thought
he has the.
I thought White Lotus
opposite
was the best thing. I thought that was the best thing in Jennifer Coolidge's career.
Best in show, though.
Yeah.
That's such an ensemble that I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
she doesn't really shine. She shines in
doesn't
her
stand out
individual
the same
scene
way.
because the other guy wasn't talking. But yeah, you're right. Like, as an actress, fantastic. Can't recommend that enough. This is a White Lotus podcast now.
Oh, 100%. I'm for that. But he is the opposite of the Paul Rudd thing. He is the Willem Dafoe thing where they just always looked 45. Like, he looked, you know, like 50 then, and he looks 50 now. He's just always been the same age. He's like a vampire. But was that on your bingo that John Grease was gonna have? It was gonna still be working, probably more than anyone else at this time. Probably not.
I mean, Val
but yeah.
Kilmer could work. I bit big on Gabriel Jarrett, and I whiffed on that. So
it's just, this movie sets the tone so fast too, because Gabriel Jarrett's at like his junior high science fair, and no one's speaking the same. Everyone's speaking English, but no one's speaking the same language as Gabriel Jarrett. And until Professor Jerry Hathaway kind of takes him aside, he's like, no one knows what you're talking about, and he like goes right up to his parents, and he's just like kind of trying to get to know him and stuff, and they're just like. He's like, I can't believe that he's not adopted. They're like, yeah, we're surprised too. And it's just like, it's so funny.
that's such a shitty line, and the parents missed it.
I know.
Or they were just so charmed that somebody like took. I don't know. That's just such a funny thing to say. Is like, I can't believe he's not adopted.
It's just they set the table with how different these people think from the very beginning. Like even the opening scene when we first meet Chris Knight, and he waits for the guy giving him the tour to open the door, and then he looks at him and he opens the door the other way. Just because he wants to be such a contrarian. He is head and shoulders above everyone else, but he also is just like, I'm gonna wear a shirt that says toxic waste. I love toxic waste. Yeah.
I think that Kilmer just took that approach from the audition and just ran with it. I feel like Kilmer really shaped that character because I think it was written as a little stuffier, and it was supposed to be wacky. It was supposed to be like, you know, all these people are serious about this shit, but like, look how zany it is that they're coming up with these
party.
These pranks.
Do you feel like Ryan Reynolds has based his entire career
Right.
off of Val Kilmer's portrait
Oh my god, yeah,
of
Ryan
his
Reynolds.
portrait specifically in this movie.
Right.
As
Yeah,
Chris
somebody
Pine.
told him they were looking for a little more top secret in an audition. He's like, "Oh, you want top secret? Well, I'm going to do it for 30 years." Also, yeah, every time he chews on the scenery or looks at the camera, he's doing 80s Kilmer for sure.
Yeah. I never even
That's
thought
not
about
even
that
a
until just
detriment.
now.
I wanted more 80s Kilmer. Kilmer
Yeah.
wanted it to be so serious.
He just came off a fucking Zucker Brothers movie. Of course, he was like, I gotta tell a joke. Like, I just went to comedy boot camp.
I don't love Top Secret.
Okay.
I like Top Secret. I don't love it. I feel like it's more Airplane 2 than Airplane for me.
Okay. To me, it was more American Raspberry than Kentucky Fried Movie, but like I feel like that comparison's apt.
We're splitting hairs at this point.
Yeah.
The character of Mitch, and he's this uber tryhard. He's the new kid. He's 15 years old, but attracts older women.
I don't know.
Oh, hi, good morning. I thought I saw you come in here. We met last night, remember? I had the sled with me. I'm Jordan. Oh, here, I made you a sweater.
Know if he's a try. It feels like he's less of a tryhard and more of just like he's a big fish in a small pond and he goes to fish out of water immediately because he's not 18. He's like 14, 15
Right.
when he goes off to college.
Yeah.
Which is how you ruin a person.
Yeah. He's not really I don't think he's attractive. So Patty Darbanville plays someone who is like basically trying to sleep her way through the top 10 smartest people in the world or something.
Yeah.
And by the way, she's my friend's aunt in real life.
Oh, that's so cool.
God.
Yeah.
I guess this is goodbye. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to know you at all. I can't stand it. Have you ever seen a body like this before in your life?
Yeah, which is always just weird. It's like, oh, I just saw your aunt in some softcore movie on WHT.
But like, here's the deal. I really feel like the way they portrayed her trying to prey on him, right? And if you contrast that with every other zany 80s boner jam comedy,
sure,
which were all deeply misogynistic, they portrayed this predation on an underage person as fucking super gross, which was so progressive for 1985. Because he ran to someone his own age after that. Versus something like Revenge of the Nerds, where it's like, oh, it's okay if you pretend to be someone's boyfriend to sleep with them.
Right.
This movie kind of holds up in the way that it was like, oh my god, that scared the shit out of him.
Like that was
this is a female director.
Yeah.
Which is pretty progressive at the time, right? There's not a lot of not as many women making movies as you have now.
Oh, she just nailed Valley Girls though. She was just coming. She was hot off of. Yeah. And that was one of Nicolas Cage's first roles. Like she just nailed it in Valley Girls. So they were like, hey, look, if you want $1 million to do a stupid popcorn gag, we're in. So I'm glad a studio let her have the latitude to make the movie she wanted.
You think about Valley Girl, and she's got this character who puts in this crazy performance, right? However you feel about Nick Cage overall, right? Like at the time, you watch that movie, and you watch Real Genius, he's memorable.
Don't they care?
For sure they care, but I'm supposed to develop into my own person,
Oh, well, that sounds good.
Like the same as Val Kilmer, right? He's like a lightning bolt. You're like, holy shit, this movie's better than I'm expecting it to be. Here's someone who's just really good in this role, doing something really interesting and not just reading their lines. And then she does Real Genius, and you get that same effect. And she does a couple of other movies, right? Like she does Joy of Sex and Real Genius. She does City Girl. But the movie that people rave about hers as an early HBO is Plain Clothes. Plain Clothes is basically 21 Jump Street, right? Arliss Howard.
That was a couple years after Real Genius, but yeah.
I'm saying it's her next movie after that. And Arliss Howard is not Val Kilmer or Nicolas Cage. like the movie is, people love it, right? People have this huge fondness for the movie, and largely because it was on a lot when they were young, right? But you know, I watched it recently because I hadn't seen it earlier, and I was just like, wow, this wants Arliss Howard to be Val Kilmer so badly.
Hey, aren't you the new kid? That Mellencamp, is it?
Nick Springsteen.
Yeah, close enough. Hey, Nick, it's over here.
Oh.
Or Nicolas Cage, or Crispin Glover, or
John
just
Cusack.
somebody.
I think
John
people
Cusack would be great.
forget how fucking sexy 1980s Crispin Glover was.
Right?
Like, he wasn't a bigger name because he was weird, because he, like, did acid and did Letterman. It wasn't because, like, he didn't have sex appeal. You put a pair of glasses on, they're like, oh, he's a stodgy, weird dad who couldn't fight Biff. But, like, yeah, Crispin Glover, man, we should... This is an at close range podcast now. That movie
Just
fucks.
keep shifting.
By the way,
Arliss Howard,
Clothes,
like,
the screen-
he basically got Full Metal Jacket on the back of, like, the stuff he did for her.
Yeah. Screenplay for Plain Clothes is written by Scott Frank. It's his first screenplay. Out of Sight and
I can see that
Get Shorty.
Minority Report. Oh yeah, Get Shorty. Yeah.
Yeah. Queen's Gambit. So, which he does.
Wolverine.
The Wolverine.
Talk about how $1 million.
This guy
of this $8
understands
million
Wolverine clearly.
$1 million of this $8 million budget was
the popcorn gag.
For a popcorn gag. That's what we're working with.
Oh yeah, so we stopped talking about what the what the plot of the movie
what are we
was.
talking? What is this movie? What happens in this movie?
So he comes to the school. He immediately displaces Kent, who's kind of the obsequious teacher's pet. Whether or not the teacher actually wants the pet.
Kent!
Cut!
What?
You're standing in front of the teleprompter.
Well, I didn't know.
Character displaces him as the lead on a laser project for the government, and he gets humiliated. He gets set up and humiliated by Kent, and feels like his life is ruined. And then they get some revenge. I think that's basically the movie. And Laszlo wins an RV.
Everybody, yeah, because it wasn't that they got their revenge on Kent, and they actually decided they didn't want this laser technology being used by the government to murder people from space. They demonstrate that this laser is better suited to popping popcorn.
Popcorn. Yeah.
The crazy thing about so I saw this movie in college as a chemistry major with other chemistry majors who were doing laser stuff in the mid 2000s, and all the science in this movie is they bothered to talk to somebody who was doing this research,
right?
And all the laser stuff is absolutely legit. The only thing that they didn't do great with the laser stuff is they had to add some color in post-production, because those lasers are visible to the naked eye, but they are not going to show up on camera. So they had to do some fuckery just to be oh, here's the beam on camera or whatever. We did.
They had to put a bunch of smoke in there.
They had to rotoscope it or something.
But all the science, the the dopant they used, and all the matrix, everything they did was cutting edge laser technology, and I fucking love that, because they could have been science where they waved their hands and blah blah blah, future lasers, whatever, but they actually went and consulted a real chemist, a physicist.
And the movie feels smart. It feels well thought out. You believe that these people are geniuses. I wonder how much do you think Big Bang Theory is trying to
Sure, yeah.
is trying to reference this movie.
But the thing is this has the smarts to back it up, but it also has the heart too. It has relatability because
this doesn't feel like.
I'm not saying they hit the mark.
Right, sure.
But do you think this was up on the inspiration board in the writers' room?
I'm sure
when they're starting out.
And it's kind of funny because Michelle Mayrank did like a bunch of movies in the 80s, and she did Outsiders, then she did Revenge of the Nerds, which she did Valley Girl, then Outsiders, then Revenge of the Nerds, which we've talked about that already. It does not hold up.
Right.
Way too
Porky's,
I don't know. Way too like nerd revenge fantasy. So as much as Revenge of the Nerds was like this, we'll get those jocks by sleeping with their girlfriends. Real Genius was like, look, man, it's okay to be smart. Like, smart people are doing crazy shit, and they're having they're having their own kind of fun that nobody else can even aspire to because they're being creative. they're using liquid nitrogen to freeze carbon dioxide solid into coins to steal from a vending machine. Like, that felt so much more satisfying than the panty raid in Revenge of the Nerds. So, like, at the time, both of those things felt kind of equivalent, but if you go back now, it's like, one of those movies doesn't hold up, and one of those movies just still feels cool to somebody in 2005 watching in his dorm room.
I think it still holds up today.
Oh yeah,
I think there are not that many movies from that era in this in this sort of broad genre of what you would think of as teen comedies that are not terribly problematic right now. I mean,
can see the seams on the ones too that always have to result or like kind of revolt into like, okay, here's the boob scene and here's the here's the wedgie scene and all this.
There's no misogyny in this movie, and
right.
I think you're right. It's because it had a female director, and she didn't want to play misogyny for laughs because that's the kind of shit that was holding her back in her career.
Right. Yeah. No. I think it's a really interesting aspect of this movie is that you can feel pretty comfortable. There's a few movies over the years that you go back and you watch with someone and they're like, and you loved this. It's like, well, at the time I didn't.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed that I liked Revenge of the Nerds in the 90s. I'll be honest.
I mean, we didn't know then. Like that's
no, of course.
Yeah.
You know what? I kind of knew. It's like ha. Ooh, I don't know. Yeah. But you're also there's a certain amount of.
I was so young when I saw Revenge of the Nerds.
There's not the
wasn't
vocabulary
okay. Why
to
is
say
everyone
what's wrong.
laughing?
Right.
Yeah.
Why is this played for a gag if it's super not cool? So I feel like I wasn't developed enough to recognize how.
And even
talked about Revenge of the Nerds not holding up multiple times on this.
Even the teen movies that are considered like classics that are considered the real movies of the time.
Oh, like Porky's and.
Well, no, I was thinking more about.
I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about like the John Hughes stuff.
Yeah,
like 16 Candles is fucking tough to watch.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god, it's so racist.
Well, it's racist, and it's again. Its ideas about consent are really fucked up.
Right.
Oh, that you can just steal someone's underwear. Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, it's.
And 20 years before that, they were, or 30 years before that, the most romantic thing in a movie was a guy smacking a dame. It's just like, it's systemically problematic.
Yeah.
And all we could do was learn. It's like Casablanca is a classic, but
But this isn't necessarily just to slam the. And it's funny because I was watching Warriors recently, which is not in this same genre of movie. And there's plenty of stuff that's problematic in it, right? The characters are, pretty misogynistic. Or
I hear the F word a lot in that movie.
Well, I don't consider
not the
that
fuck word, the one you're not supposed to say.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yes.
The one we never use.
But but the thing about that movie is no one watches that movie and says, these are, they're the anti-heroes. They're
They're grimy gang members just trying not to get murdered.
Yeah,
Right.
We're gonna, at least there's that. But like when you talk about some of these teen comedies, right? Like this is supposed to be normal. You know what I mean? Or this is how you. So one of the things just going back to Real Genius that I love is that their approach to these things is always not combative but perpendicular. It's like, oh fuck this. Why are we doing this? Why are we playing into the system? Let's go in a different direction. Let's just do our thing. Let's be irreverent. Let's open the door the other way. Let's do this really cool technique with freezing hydrogen and use it to steal sodas. Let's use our science like mundanely. I love that about this movie, and I feel like there's this real kind of innocence to it.
Yeah, it wasn't a panty raid; it was a popcorn raid, and that's so funny.
Yeah,
it's such a good gag.
Yeah,
but it's like,
and even
Professor
Hathaway doesn't die at the end. He goes home and sees his house
the
full of
revenge
popcorn.
they got was so funny. They
Exactly,
hooked up a radio receiver to a guy's braces.
I thought you'd gone.
Not yet. Have you been touching yourself?
Yes. I mean, no.
Yeah.
They don't get any sex-based revenge. It's all like smart space revenge, and I feel like that's one of the reasons that it just holds up. Like, we're not trying to be like, oh, we're better than everyone because this is our opinion.
No.
Like, shit, like, I can't pretend it's not weird to watch some of that stuff in hindsight, but if you see this movie, it doesn't make me feel like that. Everything feels really joyful and hilarious.
And it's not stringent either. It's still pretty raunchy. I mean, there's a lot of things that are implied.
Sure, but I would say it's not. It almost, well, I guess there's some raunch with
like the pool party.
Can you drive a nail through? Can you drive a nail through this board with your penis? Right. Is I guess a little raunchy. but even that,
I wish I hadn't heard that line because wasted a lot of years of my life thinking all I needed to do was more reps.
But even that, right? That's not like misogynistic. It's the opposite, right? Like the woman is the one who's like, oh, this guy that they've built up as the romantic hero of the movie, as this kind of like person you're looking up to, is just like dismissed by the hot girl because she's like, yeah, you're not hot enough. Right. And it's like, I don't know. It's just the movie really just plays with your expectations a lot.
It's a great balance of it teeters right on the edge of that cliff face of being surrealist. It's almost there. It almost goes that Better Off Dead route where he's like chasing his food off the plate with like, him showing up everywhere with bunny slippers, and then he goes and he meets I think it's like the congressman at the end. They're both wearing. He's like, hey, nice shoes.
And I suppose you have an explanation for this so-called event that we're to witness.
Yes, sir, I do. But first, let me take this opportunity to compliment you on your fashion sense, particularly your slippers.
But it's just like, but you could see like these kind of like pre-Silicon Valley, like rich, white kids doing this shit. Like, it makes sense in the world and the scope of its own rules. So it's never like not believable.
Those people too in college, like that for me, that's what sold it, because like, not only is that an archetype, that's an archetype that exists on every college campus. If you find the smartest people doing the best research, you're gonna find Kents and Chris Knights. Mm-hmm. And that's what's great about it.
Now, we're what, 3 years away from the 40th reunion for the 40th anniversary of Real Genius. 3 years away. So like we could do I would see a 40-year reunion with those characters.
Follow up, yeah.
I'm sure
John Grease is definitely down because he's still exactly the same age.
It's so funny. I always think John Grease is a Carradine.
Oh, God.
Really?
I always think he's a Carradine. And I'm always surprised that he's John Grease.
Who do we recommend this movie to now for people that haven't seen it?
I think anyone who's ever had a crush on Val Kilmer should see this movie.
Hey, maybe you are smarter than me. But can you do this?
It's definitely peak Val Kilmer. Anyone who's ever had a crush on Mitch Taylor or Garrett.
Gabriel Jarrett fetish.
Gabriel Jarrett.
Or that chick who played the accordion.
Gabriel Jarrett fan and his mother.
I hope you've seen it because I wouldn't go back for it.
But I think if you just like kind of somewhat wholesome irreverent comedy.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel wholesome when you're watching it, but I think in it's really surprising, and I think it really defies a lot of expectations of the genre, and the same way Valley Girl did. If you've ever seen that, I think it's a great point of reference. That you'll like this movie.
Well, if you look at the college movies of that era, you got like Revenge of the Nerds and Animal House, and like this just seems so much different, and it maybe wholesome isn't the word, but it's just like unproblematic. You can go back and watch and you're not going to cringe at this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Van Wilder is the, this with a rated R, or given a rated R.
Right.
Rating, so.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're right. He did actually just do, he is actually just doing like a shittier Chris Knight there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, we figured out Ryan Reynolds' thing. I will be the next, I'll just do Ryan Reynolds. Hey, look guys, I don't respect the fourth wall, okay?
It's a bit more polished. It wasn't as off the rails as like the Zucker Brothers stuff. Like it's not Naked Gun, it's not Airplane, it's not even Top Secret.
This movie isn't, there's some gags, but it never feels zany. It always feels grounded in cutting edge science versus like, oh, what if somebody had a gun that shot bubbles in people's ass or something like that? Like, it never felt wacky. It always felt like this is the peak of college kids using their smarts to next level fuck around. So they have like a giant like pool party, or they coat their dormitory floor in ice so they can like sled down it, that kind of thing. It felt more grounded than that, so like the zaniness kind of felt more plausible, and therefore just sort of you admired the people doing it versus like, oh, this is movie magic.
It's nerd on nerd, so everyone's smart. There's not like one side playing down.
But also going from being the smartest kid at your high school to being the dumbest kid in college is something that, a certain segment of the population goes through.
That's what we have to say about Real Genius. Go watch it. It's actually harder to find than you think it is. You got to rent this one.
It's free on YouTube.
Or it's free on YouTube. So
everything's free on YouTube. Or if you know someone with a Plex, they probably have it on their Plex. But it's on Stars right now. You can, if you have Stars, you can on demand it on Stars, and I think you can just rent it on Prime.
Yeah.
I think it was $2.99.
Thank you so much, once again, Mr. Brian David Marshall, for joining us on another episode of The Cult of Films. Thank you for picking Real Genius out of the sea of films that we sent over.
Is Real Genius the reason we ended up doing this? Was it me tweeting about Laszlo?
You were talking about Face Off.
Oh, I was talking about Face Off. Okay, and then I was talking about, I guess maybe then the fact that we knew we were going to do this is why I was tweeting about Laszlo.
Yeah.
Because I want a spin-off about Laszlo. Just living
but like that didn't that did better on Facebook than on Twitter, I think. You get way more engagement from people of a certain age on Facebook.
It is true. I definitely have noticed, that movies that start in the 80s versus movies that come in the late 90s or early 2000s. I have to start like doing other movies. I gotta get a TikTok account to talk about stuff from 2015.
Sorry about Repo, the genetic musical. It's not going to be great on Facebook.
Where can everyone find your podcast on Plain Clothes?
You can find me on at Top 8 Games on Twitter. I just wrote a comic book, by the way, that you can. It's an NFT comic book, so it's going to cost you like $1.50, and you don't need to own any crypto to buy it. but it's really
so
cool.
Half the cost of a comic book.
Yeah, yeah. On interpopcomics.com, I also published it. So it's a, I just started a huge company so I can publish a comic. But collaborating with a longtime friend, introduces a bunch of new characters into a superhero universe with stories we're telling, and I think it's a lot of fun. It's Emergence Presents number 11. You can find it at interpopcomics.com. It's pretty cool. Check it out, and if you like it and you read it, you can vote on which of those characters will appear in an upcoming other comic we're doing. So,
what about the card game? Tell us about that real quick.
Oh, sure. I mean, so the Emergence universe is a superhero universe that we've been publishing 5 different comics in, and working with a lot of really talented writers, not named me, and artists and people with a background working at Marvel and DC and a bunch of other companies. And taking that universe and we've dropped it into a trading card game called the Emergence TCG. It is available right now to play for free. EmergenceTCG.com. You can download it. It's going to seem a little weird. We're going to have a launcher in about 3 weeks. We're in public beta still, but trust me, it's safe. You can just run it on your computer. You play the game. The game's super amazing. Working with a lot of really super talented Magic players on the game. This game was initially designed by me and Zvi Moshowitz, Magic the Gathering Hall of Famer and Pro Tour champion. We've since introduced onto our team Alan Comer, another Magic the Gathering Hall of Famer, who is
John
responsible. Responsible for the rules engine. And then our game design team is made up of Corey Burkhart and some guy named Paulo Vitor Rosa.
Never heard of
who is a Magic the Gathering World Champion, Pro Tour champion, Hall of Famer, one of the best players to ever play the game, one of the best writers to ever write about the game, and now really someone who's turning out to be one of the
probably
best
the only person named PVDDR. You might not be the only BDM. He's probably the only PVDDR.
No, I'm not even the most famous BDM. The most famous BDM is a murderer named Brian David Mitchell.
Oh.
It's
At least you're
terrible.
the second best of something.
Yeah.
JEA or Jason Emily Alt, where can everyone find you on the internet?
Jason E. Alt on Twitter. I have a link tree. We talked about Magic the Gathering quite a lot in the last 60 seconds, and as it would happen, that's how Brian and John and I all met, because it is a card game for children played by adults, and we all love it so much. So if that's what you're into, you're in luck. I make lots of content about that, but I also really love movies, and I love talking about them with my buddy John.
And I feel like you mostly tweet about comedy somehow.
Yeah. It happens. Everybody else has said everything I want to say about Magic, but nobody has my specific comedy. Oh my God. All right. I'm done.
All right. Well, I am John the Host. You could follow me on Twitter at John the Host. You could also follow this very show on Twitter at The Cult of Films. You can listen to this in podcast form on iTunes and Spotify. Leave us laser beams. Real quick, one of the best parts about this movie didn't even happen from this movie. Gabe Jarrett was doing an interview, and he's just like, yeah, the government has this technology now. He's like, they probably shouldn't, but they do. So if you want to support Gabe Jarrett's crusade to take all this technology away from the government, why don't you go ahead and leave us a thumbs up, subscribe, tell all your friends we're talking about Cult Films and otherwise.